Hello guys, my name is Khan, and actually in today's video I will show you guys that how you can merge datasets in R. Before going towards R, I have created some two hypothetical examples for you to show you guys that how you can merge dataset and what does it mean by merging dataset in R. So in the first tab, as you can see that it's one-to-one merge, and I will show what does it mean by one-to-one merge. So suppose we conducted a survey, or we conducted a household survey, and suppose your survey company have entered the data sets for you. So suppose if they shared a data set with you with the information about household ID and the first three questions in the survey. But suppose in the after 2 or 3 weeks they shared another data set, the data 2, and they shared the remaining questions responses with you about question 4, 5, 6. But suppose as a data analyst you want that all the responses in the same data set. So in that case you can merge the data sets. So if you do merging in R, you will ended up with this kind of data structure. So suppose if you merge data set, and then all the questions responses will be appear in one data set, and there will be only one household ID after merging, because household ID actually is a kind of a connecting point between these two data sets. And this is the variable that this is the column that I have just created, that to show you guys that these first four observations were present in both data set. As you can see that household ID was 1, 2, 3, 4 is also there in data 2, the household ID 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you look at these yellow highlights, the household ID 6 is in data 1, but it's not in data 2. Actually, in my R code, I will be calling data 1 as master, and I will be calling data 2 in my R code as using. So as you can see, the observation 5 is not in master's data, so that's why I have written down here that it's coming from using, and observation 6 is present in this data 1, that's why I'm calling it master. Whereas the observation 1, 2, 3, 4 are both in 1 and 2, and those observations I am calling as match. So now I will take you guys that how you can do merging in R. So I have already created one code file for you guys, and I will go with you guys that how you can do that. So this is my code file. I'm going to maximize it in the separate window so that you guys are able to see it more properly. Then I'm going to zoom in a bit so that you're able to see it more properly. So what as I usually do, I am setting my working directory. So, and I'm just giving the folder path that where my data is already located. I'm executing it, and actually master's data is the same as data 1, which I have shown you guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to load my master's data, which is data 1, and I'm naming it also as a master object name, data frame name. And if I go back to my console, you can see that I have uploaded master data, and there are 4 variables, household ID, question number 1, 2, 3, 4. The data is exactly the same the way I have shown it shown to you guys in Excel. I'm going to close it. So, but as I said that we are this time in the first example, I'm going to do one-to-one merge. What does it mean by one-to-one merge? That both data sets are each observation of this data set connected to just one observation of this data set. If this is the case, then it's mean that we are doing one-to-one merge. So in order to make sure that are we doing one-to-one merge, I have to check that is there any duplicates in household IDs. So I will be using duplicated function, and then I will be saying master, then I will be calling household ID. As this function is saying that there is no false, mean that they haven't find any duplicate. But once you will be having very big data sets, you will not be able to see this vector to see that is it false all the time. Actually, false is having a value 0. So if I am using the function sum, and if I copy the same function which I have here, if I paste it here, so it will take the sum of this vector, and if it's unique, if the household ID don't have any duplicate, it should be 0. So as you can see, that value is 0. It means that there is no duplicates in household ID. So if I go back to my code, I have done this. I have put it this code, these lines here too, the duplicated function. Then I'm taking it sum, and again I'm saying that if sum is 0, it means that each household ID is in the data is unique. So as we have just seen that in master data, the household ID is unique. And now we will upload our second data, which is data 2, and I'm calling it as a using data in CSV. So first what I have to do is I have to upload this data, import this data into R. So if I enter it, go back, as you can see, now I have two data set, master and using. So again I have to check that because we want to have a one-to-one merge between master and using. So we have to see that our data should be unique at household ID level. So I'm doing this thing, then I'm just changing the data set name, which is using now. Using, as you can say, it's false, but better to check by the sum function. As you can see, it's all 0. It means that using file is also unique at household ID variable. So now after checking the same thing that I've just did it in the R console, I'm doing it here again. So now an important thing to do is now I want to merge the data set, and as I have checked already that both using data and master's data are unique at household ID level. So now I'm ready to do one-to-one merge. So in order to do one-to-one merge, I will be using this merge function. So first I will discuss the right hand side of this equation or this code. So this is a function which I will be using for merge two dataset. And then if you look, there is a pop-up appearing which is saying x comma y. The first data set will be named as x by R, and the second data set will be named as y. And after comma, I am using this by option, and by means that based on which variable I want to merge the data set. But make sure that you have this household ID named the same way in both master and using data. And then after this thing, I'm saying all dot x means that all the master data is equal to true, which means that I want all the observations of master's data to be kept while merging. And I am saying that regardless that observations in master and using data get matched or not, I am saying don't drop them, keep them in even after merging. Again, for all.y means that keep all the observations of using data regardless they get matched with master's data or not. So, and after this whole operation of merging, I am assigning that this whole operation of merge assigned to a new data set, which will be merged underscore data. So if I execute my code till the line number 37 and with a control shift home and then control enter, if I go back, I didn't get any error. R have created a new data set which is named as merge underscore data. I can click it to see what is. As you can see now that even now if I open my Excel 2, as you can see this of data household ID 5 was present in the using data, but household ID 5 is not here in master data. So what happening is that we have household ID number 5 here, but there is no data for question number 1, 2 and 3, and then there is data for question 4, 5, 6, and the same you can see that we were having household ID 6 in our master's data, but there was no household ID 6 in our using data. And as you can see now, we have data for question number 1, 2 and 3, but we don't have any data for question number 4, 5, 6. But those observations for household ID 1, 2, 3, 4, we were having a household ID both in master and using data. And as you can see that we have all the data for question number 1 till 6 for these observations. So now I will just going to cancel it, but now we can play with this merge option more in detail now. So if I go back to my R code, but here in the above example, when I'm saying all.x is equal to true, all.y is equal to true, so I'm saying to keep all the data that we have both in master and using. But now I'm trying to show you guys a bit different scenarios. But suppose now if I only want that the match and the remaining master observation only. So what I'm trying to say here is that suppose if I want that I only like to have the observations which got matched or the data from the master file only. So suppose if there is any observation which is from using file and it don't get matched, so I want to exclude it from my final data. So I will show you this. So this function is almost the same as above, but the point to note here is, as I told you, that the first data set which is named as master in this function will be considered as x, and the second data which is using will be considered as y. So I'm saying all.x is equal to true, means that keep all the data which is coming from the master file regardless it got matched with using or not. But here it's an important thing to note that I'm saying all.y is equal to false. The false here means that only keep the data from the using data set if it got matched with master file. Otherwise, if there is an observation in using data which didn't get matched with master file, I don't want to keep in my data. So if I execute now and I am assigning all this new operation to a new data set, merge underscore data 2. So if I do that, everything went file. Now I have this file. If I opened it, now if you see, I will show you guys what's happened in comparison with this Excel file. As you can see that I don't have ID number 5 here, which was coming from this using file. Actually, ID number 5 is not present in my master data, so that's why it didn't save in the final result. It deleted household ID 5, but all the observations which were in my master data were kept, and as you can see that question number 4, 5, 6 information was also there because this data was also present in the first household ID 1, 2, 3, 4 were also present in the using data. But here again, the observation from the using data which didn't get matched with the master data is not kept in the final result. So I will close this viewer now, and if I go back to my code file, so now suppose if I want the observation which got matched and using data only, so I'm trying to say that suppose if you after the merge you only want to keep those observations, those which get matched with the using data, and suppose if there is any observation in the master data which is not in the using data, will not be kept. So here it's an important thing. So here the function is again almost the same, but the important thing to note here is that I am saying all.x is equal to false. So if there is any observation from master data, which is the first data set in this function, didn't get matched with the using data, I don't want to save it. So I'm saying that drop it from my merge data set. But after that, I'm saying that if all.y is equal to true, that if there is an observations in regardless of the observations got matched matched with master data in using data, so I'm saying that that using data observation got matched or not, keep them in the final result. So now if I execute this code, control enter, and as you can see I have merged data under this dataset, new dataset. Now you can see I don't have household ID 6 because household ID 6 was present in my master data. Now I only have and household ID 6 unable to merge with any of the observation in using data. So that's why I didn't kept this observation and I deleted it. But I kept the household ID 5, which also unable to match with any other observation of the master data. But I kept it because in my merge function I prioritized that regardless that my using data got merged with master data or not, I want to keep its observations. Now I will go back to my R code, and in the final scenario I will show you guys that suppose if you want to keep only those observations which got matched in both master and using data, and I want to drop any of other observations which unable to match. So if I execute, so for that what I'm doing, I'm saying all.x is equal to false and all.y is equal to false. That it means that only keep the observation when they get matched, otherwise drop everything else. So if I execute it now, enter, and if I go back, this is the data set I have created because I'm naming it as merge underscore data 4 here. And now you can see that I only have 4 observations because these are the only household IDs which were both in master data and using data. So I'm just keeping the data which got matched. So I'm going to close this window. So this is the one example of one-to-one merge. And now I will show you guys that how you can do one-to-many merge. But before going towards the code of one-to-many merge, I will have another example for you guys in Excel to show you guys what does it mean by one-to-many merge. So this is my new example. So suppose again you were conducting a survey and you are conducting a survey at household ID level. So this is suppose you have conducted a survey in 6 household. These are the variables related to the household. So household ID, country, and state. But suppose within the household you also ask questions to the multiple members of a single house. So in my data 4, so this is my data 3 and this is my data 4. So as I said that we have asked a question we have asked questions with the to the multiple members within the household. Suppose we have asked 3 questions to the 3 members of a household ID 1, and then we have asked, suppose a household ID 2 were having just 2 members. We asked both of the members 3 questions, and then they responded about those questions. And for household ID 3 we just have only 1 member ID. So as you can see that household ID 1, here the household ID is uniquely defined, but here the household ID is not unique because we have asked multiple members of each household different questions. And suppose in this case, and I have highlighted few rows that to show you guys that household ID 4 is not present in data 3 and household ID 5 is not present in data 4. So in that case, if I want to merge, so I will be doing one-to-many merge. So because I'm calling it one-to-many merge because the key point of merge is still the household ID, but here household ID is uniquely defined, and here household ID is not unique in each observation. So each household ID is appearing multiple times. There are cases when household ID is appearing just one, but there are many cases when household ID is not appearing once. So that's why I'm saying it will be one-to-many merge. So, and once we will do a one-to-many merge, our data set will be look like this. As you can see here that our and most probably our data will more look like to this because we will be assigning this house or this country count country three times for household ID 1, then the state, because all these members are living in the same house. So and the country and state will remain the same for these all 3 members. So I will now take back you guys to my R file and I will show you guys that how you can do that. So this is so first I will import my data 3, and this data 3 CSV is exactly the same data file which I have shown you guys in my Excel. So first I will import my data into R and I will assign it to a data frame named as data 3. Control Enter. If I go back to my R window, as you can see I have data 3, and as you can see this data is exactly the same as which I have shown you guys in Excel. Now, but before going to see, I want to see that at which level this household ID is unique. I will be using this duplicated command the way I used it before in this video. As you can see that all the vector, I've got a vector which is false. It means that household ID is uniquely defined at household ID level, but I am just going to confirm it by this sum function. If sum is 0, it means that every ID which is appearing in household ID is coming just once in that data. After that, I'm importing data 4, which is member level data. So I'm going to import it first into R. If I execute it, so I have data 4, I will go into it, and this is exactly the same data that I have shown you guys in the Excel. And again, first I will check is there any, at which level this are there any duplicates at household ID level or not. As you can see now that there are cases when the vector is true, which means that there are duplicates. That it's as you can see, it's true, true second or third time, because household ID 1 is appearing 3 times. So first time it was unique, but the second time we checked, it's appearing again. So if there is a duplicate, so it's kept as true, and then second is false, but again appearing it's true. So that's why. So it means that there are duplicates in my data. But again, I will be using this sum command, enter, and the sum is 4, which means that there are observations which are coming repeatedly 4 times. So it's also give us an idea that once we merge this data 3 with this data 4, it will be one to many merge. So now I will go to show you guys how you can do that. So again, I will be using this merge function. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to merge, and I will tell R to keep all the data. So first data will be data 3, which will be considered as X, and data 4 will be considered as Y. And then this by variable, I'm telling the which variable is the key connecting point between data 3 and data 4. Make sure that this household ID is present in both data 3 and data 4, or whatever the connecting ID is there. If it's not spelled or written down samely in both dataset, probably you will get an error. And after that, I'm saying all.x is equal to true. It means that kept all the data from data 3 regardless it get matched with data 4 or not. And the same I'm saying for data 4, which is true, that keep all the data regardless it get matched with data 3 or not. So again, as you can see here, the data 3 is equal to x. X is coming actually in representing here, because and x here means that it's representing the first data set appearing in this merge function, which is data 3 in our case. If I execute it now, and important thing to note here is that now I'm calling this new data frame merge underscore data e, just for. So if I do that, I didn't get any error, but if I go here, so as you can see, I have data from both. There is R haven't dropped any observation. Data from data 4 and data 3 is all combined, and there are observations data which was both in data 3 and data 4. But the important thing to note here is that we have done one to many merge here. And now I will show you guys that suppose if I want so suppose that I want to tell R that only keep the data when data 3 got matched with data 4, and keep the observations of data 3 regardless they didn't get matched with data 4. But if there is any observations from data 4 which unable to match with data 3, then drop it. So here, that's why I'm saying all.x is equal to true, means that keep the data 3 observations regardless they get matched with data 4 or not. But for data 4, I'm saying it's false, means that keep the observations of data 4 if they get matched with data 3, otherwise drop the observations of data 4. So if I do it, execute my code, enter, and this data set is merge underscore data 2 underscore e. If I go back here, as you can see now that I don't have, if I go back to my result here, this is the data, this is the ID which was in data 4 but was not here in data 3. And if I go here, as you can see that there is no household ID number 4 appearing because it unable to match with the with data 3. So this is one way of doing it, and other I will show you in another scenario. Now suppose that you want so in this scenario, in the next one, here what I'm saying is that all.x is equal to false means that only keep the observations of data 3 if they get matched with data 4. If the data 3 household ID didn't get matched with data 4, then drop its drop that observation. But for all.y, y here is implying the data 4 is equal to true, means that keep all the data of data 4 data structure regardless it get matched with data 3 or not. So if I execute this code, enter, and this data set will be merge underscore data 3. As you can see here now that we don't have data from the data 3, but we have all the data coming from data 4. As you can see that household ID 5 is only appearing in data 3 but not here. That's why household ID 5 is will not appear in after merging. As you can see that there is no household ID 5 once we have merged the dataset, because we have used the options, we have opted the option in a way to keep only those observations from data 3 which get matched with data 4. And in my last scenario, again it's a bit simple one. When I only want to keep the observations after merging, when I want to keep only those observations which got matched in both data 3 and data 4. So that's why I am saying all.x is equal to false and all.y is equal to false, which means that only keep the observations when the observations are present in both data 3 and data 4. So if I execute this thing, enter, and I am calling this data frame named as data 4. If I go here, and now you can see that I have all the complete data which is complete, which is all the rows are filled up with the data. But important thing to note here is that household ID 5 and 4 are not appearing in this dataset because 4 and 5 observation don't get matched. All the other household IDs 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6 got matched with data 3 between data 3 and data 4, and I am keeping only those observations which get matched between data 3 and data 4. So this is a bit short overview about merging the data in R. If you guys want to know more about merge command, you can go to help tab. You can simply write merge, and then you can go to help window, and if you maximize it, there is a very good brief about merge command. There's a very different function, different arguments, different options that you can use within that function, and there also have some good examples in the end about how you can do that. So I will strongly recommend that once, if you want to learn merge function in R, it's better to also use this help window. And in the end, I will say thank you for watching the video.